4. Thomas leaned against the tree as he waited for Chuck. He scanned the compound of the glade, this new place of nightmares where he seemed destined to live. The shadows from the walls had lengthened considerably, already creeping up the sides of the ivy-covered stone faces on the other side. At least this helped Thomas know directions. The wooden building crouched in the northwest corner, wedged in a darkening patch of shadow. The grove of trees in the southwest, the farm area, where a few workers were still picking their way through the fields, spread across the entire northeast quarter of the glade. The animals were in the southeast corner, mooing and crowing and baying. In the exact middle of the courtyard, the still gaping hole of the box lay open, as if inviting him to jump back in and go home. Near that, maybe 20 feet to the south, stood a squat building made of rough concrete blocks, a menacing iron door its only entrance. There were no windows. A large round handle resembling a steel steering wheel marked the only way to open the door, just like something within a submarine. Despite what he'd just seen, Thomas didn't know which he felt more strongly, curiosity to know what was inside, or dread of finding out. Thomas had just moved his attention to the 4 vast openings in the middle of the main walls of the glade when Chuck arrived. A couple of sandwiches cradled in his arms, along with apples and 2 metal cups of water. The sense of relief that flooded through Thomas surprised him. He wasn't completely alone in this place. Frypan wasn't too happy about me invading his kitchen before supper time, Chuck said, sitting down next to the tree, motioning to Thomas to do the same. He did, grabbed the sandwich, but hesitated, the writhing, monstrous image of what he'd seen in the shack popping back into his mind. Soon, though, his hunger won out and he took a huge bite. The wonderful tastes of ham and cheese and mayonnaise filled his mouth. Ah, man, Thomas mumbled through a mouthful. I was starving, told Yam. Chuck chomped into his own sandwich. After another couple of bites, Thomas finally asked the question that had been bothering him. What's actually wrong with that Ben guy? He doesn't even look human anymore. Chuck glanced over at the house. Don't really know, he muttered absently. I didn't see him. Thomas could tell the boy was being less than honest but decided not to press him. Well, you don't want to see him. Trust me. He continued to eat, munching on the apples as he studied the huge breaks in the walls. Though it was hard to make out from where he sat, there was something odd about the stone edges of the exits to the outside corridors. He felt an uncomfortable sense of vertigo looking at the towering walls, as if he hovered above them instead of sitting at their base. What's out there? He asked, finally breaking the silence. Is this part of a huge castle or something? Chuck hesitated, looked uncomfortable. I've never been outside the glade. Thomas paused. You're hiding something, he finally replied, finishing off his last bite and taking a long swig of water. The frustration at getting no answers from anyone was starting to grind his nerves. It only made it worse to think that even if he did get answers, he wouldn't know if he'd be getting the truth. Why are you guys so secretive? That's just the way it is. Things are really weird around here, and most of us don't know everything, half of everything. It bothered Thomas that Chuck didn't seem to care about what he'd just said, that he seemed indifferent to having his life taken away from him. What was wrong with these people? Thomas got to his feet and started walking toward the eastern opening. Well, no one said I couldn't look around. He needed to learn something or he was going to lose his mind. No, wait, Chuck cried, running to catch up. Be careful, those puppies are about to close. He already sounded out of breath. Close, Thomas repeated. What are you talking about? The doors, you shank. Doors. I don't see any doors. Thomas knew Chuck wasn't just making stuff up. He knew he was missing something obvious. He grew uneasy and realized he'd slowed his pace, not so eager to reach the walls anymore. What do you call those big openings? Chuck pointed up at the enormously tall gaps in the walls. They were only 30 feet away now. I'd call them big openings, Thomas said, trying to counter his discomfort with sarcasm and disappointed that it wasn't working. Well, they're doors, and they close up every night. Thomas stopped, thinking Chuck had to have said something wrong. He looked up, looked side to side, examined the massive slabs of stone as the uneasy feeling blossomed into outright dread. What do you mean, they close? Just see for yourself in a minute. The runners will be back soon. Then those big walls are going to move until the gaps are closed. You're jacked in the head, Thomas muttered. He couldn't see how the mammoth walls could possibly be mobile. Felt so sure of it he relaxed, thinking Chuck was just playing a trick on him. They reached the huge split that led outside to more stone pathways. Thomas gaped, his mind emptying of thought as he saw it all firsthand.